Welcome to Squirrel Trails. I'm David.
And I'm Al.
So Al, have you ever tried to stay off the grid?
Yeah, I was off the grid for a long time, but that was kind of before the grid existed.
Well, true. And I was off the grid before I was born.
Correct.
So, how do you stay off the grid? So with that weird intro, we've got a couple stories today talking about the grid. And not a grid line on a piece of paper, but trying to stay off the grid and keeping your information yours. Oh, it's even better. Go back. Welcome to Squirrel Trails. I'm David.
And I'm Al.
So Al. Yes.
Hey, and by the way, we're just back from vacation, and we drove for 2 days, so we're just a little wacky.
A little wacky. So, is your information secure?
No.
None of us is.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, almost what you do, your information is out there.
And generally available. It can be protected. I mean, less people are really trying to protect it, but the reality is there's almost no way to be 100% protected these days if you have data and you give it to somebody else.
If you have information like your driver's license,
credit card, address,
birth certificate, social security card.
Yeah.
You have data.
And you likely, and raise your hand if you haven't done this, and then go confess your sins because you're lying, if you've not provided that data to somebody.
Yeah. And getting your data back so it's off the grid once you want to go off the grid is super difficult.
Well, there's a lawsuit about that right now. It's Facebook.
Oh, there is?
Yeah, and because the guy wants his data back. And it ain't going to happen.
Yeah. Stay tuned for a channel announcement on a channel that I'm going to be working on.
And you'll be as surprised as I am.
Well, probably not. I am, I guess I'll announce it now, right?
Might as well.
Just because we're talking about the subject.
Yeah, let's go.
So I am going to create a separate channel to read terms of service and privacy statements.
Out loud.
Out loud.
In public.
No, not in public, but to the public.
To the public. Okay.
Just because this information, I'm pretty sure you haven't read.
You mean people don't actually read that stuff?
No.
Where they say, but no. They say they've all pressed that button.
Real quick, could that be a lawsuit waiting to happen?
Oh, good. Talk about a squirrel trail.
Sorry we may not get to our subject. So the way they word it,
yes.
Saying, yes, I have agreed, I have read the terms of service.
Right.
And it's a mandatory click.
Right.
So
No. It's not mandatory.
It's mandatory to use the service.
Right. But you choose to use the service.
You've chosen to use the service. So can you not sue them at all because you clicked, I've read?
And again, I only play an attorney in my head.
If you're a lawyer, please reach out. This may be a topic that I may go on a separate channel.
It may go on a topic that he has to do by himself so that I stay employed.
Yeah, I'm self-employed. So yeah, sorry about the lighting. We're having difficulties with the sun, and the sun too.
Yeah. So, but this has just been a few moments. This has been for a decade or two.
Okay.
So anyway, rolling all back to your question, it depends. Is probably what any attorney will tell you.
Yes.
And they'll also say you can always sue. Whether you win or not is always the question.
That's a good point.
So, but the reality is only if the only way you can win is if they've violated the terms of service that you've agreed to. Now, here's the question: can you get sued because you said I was going to do this and I ended up violating it, and in point of fact, yes, you can.
Could Facebook actually sue people to create fake accounts. Because in their privacy statement, which I've read now I think 4 times, the whole thing, and their terms of service. But in their terms of service,
People that know me, you think I'm weird.
in the terms of service, when you create a Facebook account,
Yes.
it has to be your personal information.
Correct.
You cannot create a false identity account on Facebook.
Yeah.
For malicious or false purposes. But you can create an account for like your business, that kind of stuff. That's okay. But to create an account that is not you and you're using it as a personal account, on the personal side, yes, it's not against, it's against terms of service. Now, because you've clicked, yes, I will not do this. Not only can they close your account, but could they sue you?
Well, they'd have to have a loss. I mean, you can't.
It is a lot.
Well, no. They'd have to be able to demonstrate that
Isn't
there's a loss.
isn't data a loss?
No, I mean, they'd have to have had some kind of financial loss.
Well, Facebook does sell data.
Well, right, so how much?
If you don't know that, they do. That's why.
Who knew?
That's why.
Facebook sells data.
That's why Facebook's free. If you want to not have a company sell your information, then pay them.
Yeah, and Facebook didn't used to sell data.
No. Well, they don't sell your data. Technically, they sell a number because the number isn't attached to anything. Again, go read the terms of service in the privacy statement. In the privacy statement, it talks about the user and the number they give to the identity. But again, that's a whole different.
So that actually kind of goes to the topic we were going to talk about.
Yes.
But I don't think we're going to get to that.
So actually, let's just say that that channel is going to start. There may be some fun. I'll read a terms of service and a privacy statement for a company, and then have a discussion about those two with someone.
And then the goal for this, I'm guessing, is going to be to have people, because I can really see this being a hoot, because you're going to be able to read email responses back from people that make comments to you.
Yes, and it's a two-sided. There's 2 sides why I'm doing this. One, I enjoy reading terms of service and privacy statements, even though I have a reading disability, so this actually will help me with learning to read. So luckily it's not live, because there probably will never be a live one of me reading a terms of service.
Oh, I would pay money for that.
Well, if I get enough subscribers, I can make that happen.
Yeah, that actually yes, we'll bring your wife into that one.
Yeah. So, and the second reason is, and a bigger reason overall, is to get information out there, because most people, like you said, don't read a terms of service or the privacy statement when they click yes. And so this is a way to look it up and watch it in a 10-minute, 15-minute, 5-minute segment, and actually understand what's going on. And that's kind of, I want to get that information out there. Again, I like helping people out and helping people understand things, and this is one way of me doing that. So,
that was a 10-minute intro to a 15-minute video.
yeah, so we'll use a previous intro that we recorded. I guess we're going to use that one for the intro. Hope you enjoyed that one. But anyway, so now that we got hopefully lighting a little bit better, and again, once we get settled back into the routine of things, we'll have things on the lighting better.
That's why we call it Squirrel Trails, because we have a routine.
Right. So what articles have you found for us today?
So really, I looked at 3 articles today that kind of come together into somewhat of a nexus. First one I found was on the Register, which talks about Facebook and its use of the cryptocurrency Libra as it's coming out. And the article really focuses on the fact that is this something that Facebook is doing because they're supporting currency, or are they simply after more of your data? And so before we get into a long argument about that, I'm going to go into the other 2 articles, because David and I do actually disagree.
Yes.
So the other article we had was, and it follows on to that, and this was out of the Star Trib in Minnesota, so local paper, cool, was how do you get off of the grid? Now, what happens if you don't want Google, Facebook, or anybody else? It specifically talks about Google, though. People, the growing number of people that are divesting themselves from Google.
Yes.
And how do they do that? And then the third article I kind of threw in just because it's connected is a company that works with major organizations, including militaries, that collects biodata on you, fingerprints, faces, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
They got hacked. Yep. And all that data got out. So when you lose your password, you get a note saying change your password.
Well, yes.
We'll do that as a whole separate conversation.
Yes. They didn't quite, so yes, they got hacked.
Yes.
But it wasn't leaked.
Oh, well, do we know it wasn't leaked?
Yes. Well, no, we never know. But the person that hacked them reached out to them and told them, hey, there's a breach.
Right.
You have a breach.
And we're going to go into that in another article so we can get into it, because it's one of those interesting things. If somebody's left data out in the open, which is what happened here, they had the database files were out in an open environment, unprotected. Was it breached or wasn't it breached?
Most likely it was breached based on what they do.
Yeah, I mean, it's
for sure.
The expectation should be it is, but my reason for wanting to talk about that, and again, we'll probably do this in another article, is that
another video.
Whatever.
Unless Al's going to start writing articles, which could be a possibility.
Yeah, I probably should. But anyway, have you seen my writing? It's worse than your reading. So,
maybe that's why I can't read so well, because I've read your writing.
I have bosses that would agree with you. So anyway, there really comes into play when you start giving biometric data, and they're actually storing the actual biometric data, like your picture of your face or your fingerprint.
And a picture of your fingerprint, not in a hash.
Yeah, no, the actual fingerprint.
It's unencrypted.
What happens? So we'll talk about that in another discussion. One of these days we'll have to keep track of all the promises we've made of articles. That
well, that's true. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so rolling back to what we were maybe talk about. So let's talk about Facebook.
Sure.
Facebook cryptocurrency with Libra. It is a cryptocurrency. I mean, it's a digital currency, probably a better way of saying it. It is a digital currency that Facebook is doing with
actually
partners.
Before, really quick, let's go into the Google stuff.
Okay.
Now, and then stay tuned for our Tuesday video of a more relaxed setting. We're gonna actually just discuss today's topics in a back and forth, open, no time limit.
Okay.
Breakdown.
Because we've spent a fair amount of time just wandering.
Yeah, like usual.
For those of you who wondered why we call this Squirrel Trails, this is the example.
Yes.
So the Google article, the article about getting off of Google goes into play. So let's ask yourselves the question: how many times do you touch Google?
Okay. So, as a truck driver that I do.
Yep.
I not only do I use Google Maps all day long, so they track exactly where I'm at all day.
Okay.
So I'm looking up different addresses. I'm also checking my email, which just happens to be Gmail.
Okay.
I also use an Android phone.
Okay.
And the operating system.
So that means your data is always going to them.
Always going to them.
But there is a way to turn that off. We'll talk about that at some other time.
Yes. Those are essentially all, I don't use Google Voice for calling, but I do use Android operating system phone call, so yes.
Okay, but the fact that you're using a Google device.
Yes.
And you use Google Search?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
okay,
yes.
So if you're using Google for its primary purpose.
Searches. The original purpose.
Yeah, back when their motto was do no harm.
Don't go there.
So you do that all the time. So what's happening in this, as this article walks through, is it takes a concerted effort to get out of that Google environment. You actually have to, for all intents and purposes, pretty much get off the grid, or transfer everything to Apple. And I'm not sure that's any better.
Yeah, because in the article it does talk about how Apple is, because this is becoming a big thing.
has become.
A big thing that Apple is letting people know, your information stays on your device.
Right.
Which is, again, actually not a bad deal.
No, and that's, if in point of fact that's true, that'd be great.
But on the other side, that's also might be why the Apple phone costs 10 times as much as a Android phone.
No, it costs that much because people are actually willing to pay for it.
Free stuff versus non-free stuff.
Okay, yeah, but even when they were selling the data, it would still cost that much. So let's not go there.
Okay. Just a thought.
It's
Squirrel Trails.
it's a valid thought if that was actually the case. But the fact is, Mac heads will spend just about anything for
That's true.
So that being said, it is the right answer. If somebody, would you be willing to pay more for a device or for a product in which your privacy was more assured? Not that it's ever going to be 100% assured, but more assured. Because there are products out there that will let you do that.
Yes.
There is DuckDuckGo.
Yep, okay, yep, as a search engine.
Search engine, which is completely anonymous. That's their claim to fame. They're trying to do it. Their user volume has doubled this year.
Yeah, year to year.
Year to year, and from, was it 23 to 40?
24,000?
Yeah.
Or million.
Yeah, million. So, again, not huge, but a huge spike.
For a small
Right.
search engine, yes, that's
Yes,
huge.
absolutely. And I use that as well periodically. So as you start looking at your data, is this something you really care about? The thing is that to be honest, what do you use your smartphone for? To be honest, if you're just like playing games or doing some other things, should you be considering what data you're providing and what that can be used for?
As long as you're not paying for the game, because again, games are developed by, just because I know weird stuff.
Some things don't fall from the tree.
Yeah. So most games, if you look up and we've actually talked about this in a previous video, how game developers will one game will ask for this information, one game will ask for this information.
Right.
So that developer now has more information than you actually think.
Right. So,
but yeah, staying off there. I mean, by not doing a lot of things, and they've talked about. There's a few people that what they're doing to get off, and how difficult it is, and how it's a huge inconvenience.
yeah, because how many of you actually use a map anymore?
Yeah.
That's not on your digital device.
Where do you get a map?
Good point. So,
Truck stop.
yeah, they're still there, but I can't think of any place else I'd pick one up.
Amazon.
Well played. So, but this is the kind of thing I'm going to, and this is probably an item, again, we've spent way too much time rambling over the place. We want to talk about that a bit more because it is something to experiment with.
Yeah.
If it's something you're concerned about, if you're concerned about your information, because the more information about you that's out there, it's a perfect example. In many cities, if there's a crime in an area, the police department can go to Apple or some other geolocation service and say which phones have been in this area.
Yep.
And that's how they're starting to do investigations. So you could end up being tied to something even if you weren't involved because of that. Now you tie that up with identity theft, where suddenly your phone number is now associated with somebody who is using that phone number to commit a crime, even though they're not using your phone. They've kind of converted their phone to be able to use your number, spoofing. Suddenly, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And there are many cases where people have gone to jail for this stuff.
So with that, I think we'll wrap this one up. But stay tuned tomorrow.
Wrap is kind of a loose word for what we've done tonight.
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah. So we'll kind of maybe box this up a little bit and give it to you guys for Monday's video. And then Tuesday's video, stay tuned. We're going to see how long we can record, how much memory can make. or camera have. But we're gonna kind of go into these topics in just a back and forth discussion and figure out why David and Al disagree and what do they disagree on. So stay tuned. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and then hit that bell notification so when Tuesday's video come out, you'll be notified. Thanks.
And by the way, if you find this stuff interesting, tell your friends.
Help grow the channel. We're still a small channel growing, and yeah, if you want to support us, send me an email. Don't forget to like, make comments, and tell your friends. So with that, thanks for watching.
Take care, folks.